Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are fine and you can hear me very well. Just wait for some seconds and then we will be starting our webinar. So, the today webinar is about the internal audit and its introduction for external audits. Very much interesting and informative session because many internal auditors don't know how they can support external auditors, and vice versa, that many external auditors don't know how they can support internal functions of an organization, how external audit can become beneficial for internal audit. We will be looking in this presentation, in this webinar as well. Let's just focus on some things as an accountant or finance professional, or if we are shifting towards internal audit, this webinar is very important. Let's just look into deep dive, and I hope you would be interested in learning more with Daniel Ali. So, introduction to internal audit, and we know that how its role influence our external audit. In 2025, the Internal Audit Institute of USA, it introduced some internal audit standards. These standards are similar towards external audit. Very first thing to notice, if you are an external auditor, if you are a student studying audit, if you are finance professional shifting towards an internal audit, you must know external audit standards. So, what are those external audit standards? You need to know them very well. If I say in a friendly, you should be remembering ISA. So, what are ISA? These are international standards on auditing. So, you must know these very first thing. So, what's the next? If you have known this, you would be you would be very helpful in performing an audit. All right. So, external audit. You would have a question that we are looking towards internal audit. Yes, I told you earlier that before moving towards an internal audit, you should be keeping an external audit in your mind. I would be moving towards an agenda of today's webinar as well in some seconds. So, very first thing to notice that ISA, these are international standards on audit issued by IFF bodies and ISA bodies. So these supports your internal audit? Yes. And as January 25 approaches, Internal Audit Institute USA, they launched internal audit standards. You can see here you have been named as a global internal audit standards. These global internal audit standards are very helpful for external audit as well. How they become helpful, we will be looking to today. You need to keep the things in your mind and they should relate each other. I would be preparing a linkage between internal audit and external audit for you. And I hope I would be becoming a successful to teach you. So ISAs, you have studied those earlier as an audit student, as an audit professional, as an experienced professional, as a previous internal auditor or finance professional. So you must have studied ISA earlier. So how ISA earlier studied would be helping you in learning current new internal audit standards. Why I have stated new, because previously, before year 2025, there were no internal audit standards. An organization perform internal audit according to its requirement, according to its need. Now there are some standards available. These standards would be helpful for performing professional internal audit. Let's just move forward and see the agenda. So our very first thing to look and understand what is internal audit, a very basic thing for external audits. So we need to understand what is internal audit, its purpose, its aim, definition, how we're gonna perform it. We're gonna look further into the global internal audit standards. Our presentation slide number 2 has already been mentioned here. So as you know, external audit is being divided into standards. Internal audit is being also divided into standard, but they have made into the key domains. Domain 1, Domain 2, Domain 3, as you can say in heading or a group of standards, such as you make risk and planning 300 series. So those how risk and planning relates toward your internal audit domain, we will be looking today. How documentations and using an expert, yeah, you mean ISA 265 and some other standards to 10, how they relate towards key domains of internal audit we will be looking towards today. So there were some ethical principles of external audit which we gonna know previously at every stage, how those ethical principles help us understanding the core principles of internal audit. Means your auditor should be independent, it should provide independent report, it shouldn't have any relation with an organization, with an external auditor, and now with an internal auditor as well. What is the objective of performing internal audit? How internal audit would be becoming helpful for external audit? We all gonna look today in coming webinars. What is an internal audit process? How internal audit being performed? As you can see, a subheading here are very important. That first you're gonna plan, same as an ISA. You're gonna work on those plans, which is called here field work, and then you're gonna prepare a report, same as you see ISA 700 series. You prepare the report, audit report. First, you were preparing an external audit report according to standard. Now you are preparing an internal audit report as well. This internal audit report would be supporting toward your external audit. We will be looking toward the key difference and the relationship between external audit and internal audit, and simultaneously how these link towards your internal audit process. Is it beneficial? And are these internal audit standards aligned with your external audit? So we're gonna look all of this in a webinar along with Daniel Ali. I hope we will be achieving our agenda today, and in a coming webinar we'll be looking some further advanced topics to advance our internal audit towards external audit reports. Next thing, very importantly, we're gonna understand what is internal audit. If someone has a thing in mind, he or she can tell me what is an internal audit. It says internal auditing is an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value. Very important to note and understand that an organization has internal auditor. Why it has? It needs to look assurance on its reports. The main objective of auditor is to provide assurance. You all know that. And that main objective of an auditor to provide an assurance links toward your independence. Your auditor shall be independent. Alright? And that independent auditor shall provide assurance and its consultancy services to whom? to the organization where it has been hired. So this internal auditor would be adding an extra benefit. So in economics, you might have been studied microeconomics or the macroeconomics. There you would have been looking toward the scarcity of resources. You have limited resources and how you gonna earn maximum benefit in a limited resources. Same with the process of internal audit that an organization has an internal auditor who shall be independent from an organization. This internal auditor shall provide meaningful report, meaningful assurance, and consultancy services to organization. Why? It shall provide these services to add values to improve an organization's operations. I hope you understand this. If I look toward independence, you can see that auditors shall be free from the scope, shall be free from a work and reporting process of governance, board of governance level, from legal perspective, from reporting means financial reporting perspective, from external auditing perspective. So you need to be very careful when you are performing an internal audit. And this internal auditor shall be carefully looking toward the financial statements. Why? Because there shall be any conflict of interest in assessment process because you are performing a planning process as well. You would be looking for the risk matrix. You as an auditor shall avoid any conflict arising early. So you need to understand that. You should have a single mind, and that mindset shall be very basic that you need to provide value addition services to an organization. All right. So you need to understand that you need to provide value service additions. That's why an organization have hired you earlier. So you improves its risk management of process. You already know that you prepare a risk management matrix, risk registers. You improve the governance because you study governance in a deep than an external audit. You need to know these things very deeply for your learning. Improve the organization operations. So this was an internal audit and how internal audit influence external audit. You're gonna learn it. I hope there would be no questions in this slide because we have deeply connected and tried to work on for external audit and internal. Next, very importantly, we have a global internal audit standard. So I'm not gonna go in a deep because I have been planning some more important, meaningful resources for you on internal audit. If I look towards, you need to understand that on January 2025, IIA has released some important things. Previously, the organizations follow international practice. Now organizations follow internal audit standards. All right. So I hope you're gonna learn different things. So your internal audit standards are being divided into different domain, different groups, as I told you earlier. So the very first domain or group is same as an external that we need to understand the purpose of internal audit. What is internal audit? Why internal audit? Whom to provide internal audit services? What is objective of assurance? What are the advices to be provided? What would be key finding? Are we going to work on the risk management? Do we provide protection towards an audit values? We're going to learn and look these operations deeply into the group one, or you can say domain one, that is called the purpose of internal audit. If we look towards the second, I have an ethics and professionalism. So it's gonna move same toward ISA. We're gonna shift toward ISA, international standard on auditing, that your auditor shall provide complete report. It shall be competent enough to provide a report on internal audit link, and that shall be supported toward the external audit. Your internal auditor shall be honest, it shall be integrated, it shall provide services that shall be confidential to other members of an organization. It shall be looking toward the governance board. So now you see, it's been third time I've been telling that the governance. Internal auditor look toward the board very deeply and help the board members to perform governance report, to prepare governance report, to look toward the legal matters as your internal auditors are lawyers as well. If you see logically, they help external auditors and the management. Who are the governors of an organization? That's the management. Very important. The third domain, that if an organization hiring an internal auditor, it shall be looking respective internal audit charter. It shall be hiring CAE, Chief Audit Experience Officer, or whatever you can see. That all right. So a Chief Internal Audit Officer as well. That shall be independent, and it shall be looking toward the board rules. These are some objectives and activities of internal audit functions. How these shall be related? These shall be related towards some mapping functions. Our domain 4 explains these mapping. So these functions shall be relating toward the QAIP, means quality assurance, internal processes as well. It shall be managing the resources as well. It shall be helping some other assurance providers. You mean an external auditor. All right. And these external auditors shall be providing an external audit with the help of internal audit functions. And the very last, you have a domain 5. It says performing internal audit services. Yes, we're going to look towards internal audit services as we're going to hire internal auditor. So this internal auditor being hired would be looking toward the planning phase first. It will be looking toward the field phase where it's going to work on. Should be looking toward the documentation, the process, and then communicating all it following toward the management and toward the CAE and the governors as well. These are the 5 groups, 5 domains on which your internal audit is being divided and is being supported toward. I hope you are learning and understanding with me, and my speed is not too much fast. I would be covering many things in detail for you, and there is a case study as well at that. It was a surprise, but telling you in advance would be very beneficial. for you. A case study is being available for an understanding. I hope you will be learning many things with me. If you have any questions, till now you can ask me as we have covered the global internal audit standards. So by the way, I am telling you again that we would be releasing another video, another webinar on global internal audit standards. So let's just prepare it. Very first, we looked about the internal audit, and if I go previously, we looked toward the today agenda. What is today's agenda and how it is being effective? And if I go previously, I gave an introduction about ISA and Global Internal Audit Standards. So I hope you are being learning very much with me and I am being teaching you well. Here the next point we're gonna look toward the core principles. I told you earlier that external audit we learn some ethical principles. So we learn some ethical principles and those ethical principles help us. So very first thing, if you look toward the point number 6, it says quality focus. And QAIP, as I told you earlier, that quality assurance and improvement program, every organization follows QAIP program. It tries to prepare a QAIP with the help of different domains, all right, with the help of different standards. And remember that when you are working with the QAIP department of an organization, you must follow external audit system. Means IQSM. So it means International Quality and Standard Management 1 and 2. These are being earlier taught to external auditors. So if you are a chartered accountant or a certified chartered accountant, you must have studied this earlier. And it is very important if you have learned and worked previously in external audit, that would be very advantageous towards learning internal audit. Because ISQM or IQSM 1 and 2 helps you to learn and understand the competence of an auditor. It helps you to learn how to prepare an organization strategies. It helps you to understand that how to prepare a well performed audit plan, which would be quality focused as well, and it would be QAIP focused. And while performing all of this, an auditor shall be honest, integral. It shall perform all activities very well. Your auditor shall be pushing very well. You need to look, your internal audit report must be well designed and understandable, shall have each and every record being mentioned. Now you just see a single point that has been linked toward many different points and how I am linking my external audit with internal audit. This would be very beneficial webinar for you and I hope my efforts wouldn't be go wastage. You would be sharing toward other as. So these are some core principles that the auditor must be competent, auditor must be integral, it shall provide a report or you can see it shall provide an effective report that shall be helpful for ISQM or IQSM standards as well, and those should be quality focused QAIP that shall be related towards ethical principle as well. Your IQSM 1 and 2 also suggests you prepare the strategy and that must be related towards an organization objective as you prepare the vision statement and mission statement earlier. Your auditor must be competent. It shall be provide a competence report. This report shall be risk averse as well. Now you see a single point linking towards more advanced points. And I am trying being to make this more easy and understandable. You're gonna read it. I'm gonna erase all my workings. Your auditor shall maintain objectivity. What the objectivity is being hired to you to perform an internal audit. You must not look towards the oversight to the other things as well. And you shall be provided a judgmental report as you performed earlier as. If you have any issues, you can ask me towards the core principles of internal auditing and how this effectively help you toward learning. Next, very important, you have an internal audit process. This internal audit process is very important to understand, to work on, to relate my external audits. And the very important thing that you see, I have posted that GIAS domain 5. I told you earlier the domain 5 is very important. It helps us in performing my internal audit services. It says we need to plan, we need to engage, we need to look, we need to see, and we need to communicate. All of this has been performed and discussed earlier while we're going to look in detail today. So the very first thing, my internal audit process shall be looking towards planning phase. And then after planning, I need to look toward the risk management. So very first, I need to look towards audit, why audit is being performed. All right. So why audit is being performed, then I need to look towards which items shall be prioritized first, which are highly risky areas. I need to plan an internal audit plan. You can say as I prepare external audit plan, similarly I'm going to prepare my internal audit plan. And this internal audit plan should be approved by an organization board, shall be approved by an organization chairman, CEO or CFO, whatever the hiring body is upward. So the very first thing which is linking towards your external audit, that you need to prepare an risk assessment and planning phase first. If you see towards external audit, you have a 300 series. So if you look, you have 300 series that tells you about planning phase, your risk management and some other things. And then you see an organization growth. Here the second phase is your engagement planning. What are the objectives of internal audit? Do internal audit helps us in the future? Are resources available? As I told you in economics, you studied allocation of resources, scarcity of resources. So that shall be keep in mind while looking toward internal audit process. Next, has an organization issued your engagement letter? This again look toward ISA 210. Now you see your external audit and internal audit are performing side by side. An organization has an internal auditor or a team and a full internal audit of 2 or 3 members. And luckily, one of them has already studied audit or is being a chartered accountant, worked previously as an external audit. So that person would be very helpful to the internal auditor you hired, because external auditor has already been worked on risk phase, on planning phase, on engagement phase earlier while performing external auditors, and that was being performed later on. But now, as an internal auditor, or she is being prepared internal audit process, IAP process, and that IAP process links the very first thing that you say: risk assessment, risk management folder, risk matrix, highly risky areas from where your financial statements. You're going to look towards your financial statements. After looking your financial statements and previous year audit working, you're going to look toward the current audit plan. This current audit plan would be helpful for you to work on the field work and to look toward the testing phase. You gather the evidences of highly risky areas. You conduct different interviews that if a reporting department has been risk a lot, you'll be looking toward the reporting manager, asking him questions. You'll be looking toward internal controls. As I have been mentioned, that test of control should be tested. What documents are being available? You need supporting documents. All of these three phases or these process, these are the main essential process of internal audit. And similarly, these are the same external audit process as. I am dividing my internal audit process into two ways. The very first thing, I'm gonna say the risk assessment and planning. Next, I'm gonna say my engagement planning process, and third, field work and testing process. So I have been process listed here, but if I make a thing first, after hiring an internal auditor, the very first thing comes to a mind that engagement planning. My part two, because after looking engagement planning, I need to understand my objective, my scope, are resources available, is my organization issuing my engagement letter. All right, so all of these gonna be looked first, and then I'm gonna move towards my risk assessment and planning process. After planning, I'm gonna come toward my field and look towards audit papers, gathering evidences, looking towards some further supporting documents. Are internal controls being performed well? Are my purchases being controlled? Are GRN, GDN, all of these documents available for audit purpose? Are evidences available? Are maximum evidences available? And after looking towards this, all the three process, a three linkage way, I'm gonna shift towards the fourth way, and that I'm gonna say my communication and reporting. I'm gonna prepare my draft report first. All right, our management shall be looking the board, the governance, all of these shall be looking toward my reports. All right, and then I'm gonna furtherly work on some audit files and distribute my working toward the management. Similar way you prepare a report under ISA 700. So alright, so keep in mind that you're preparing an internal audit report, which will be helpful for the external audit. And this internal audit report shall be looking towards the previous three process of engagement planning, your risk planning, your other plannings, and then your field work and testing. And this shall be follow-up or help in monitoring your further plans, your action plans, your future plans. If you close your internal process, it helps you to close it. It helps you to understand some further board statuses. This was an internal or process being defined by me. I tried my best to explain you, and if you have any questions, you can ask me. Very I'm just taking a break of 2 minutes, and then we're gonna continue further. and let's just start looking some further things at. If you have any issues, any questions, you can ask me further, and I am available on the chat box. Let's just zoom back, and if you have any issues, can ask me. I am available. Now you see, you have a difference between external audit and internal audit. So yes, you're performing an internal audit, it's your board approved. All right, your self satisfaction. But if you're performing external audit, yes, it's a law requirement. Different companies act such as in Pakistan, it requires an organization to perform an external audit. Yes, in the UK, an organization is also being required in USA. So now you see different act, different laws requires to perform external audit. But internal audit is being performed for self-satisfaction or if the board approves who are the primary members, or you can see the client. It has been suggested that internal audit, your board, your audit committee, your management are the main persons whom you would be reporting or whom the internal audit is being explained. While as an external auditor, you perform an external audit for the shareholders for external stakeholders as well. If I'm gonna invest in an organization, I must look towards internal audit report now as well as the external audit report. So previously, only I was able to look towards the external audit report. Why? Because I was an external stakeholder. But now if I'm gonna make or if I'm gonna be the shareholder, I would be looking a mandate internal audit report as well as external audit report. You need to understand this. The scope. The scope has been widened of my financial statements while looking towards internal audit as well as external audit. Very first, I'm gonna look toward my external audit that While performing external audit, I need to look toward all my financial statements. So which financial statements I'm gonna look towards? My all three financial statements, you can say profit and loss, you can say financial position, or you can say the cash flow. These three statements are very important. All right, for your audit purpose. And on these statements, you provide opinion. This opinion is the major thing that you provide on the financial statements. While if you look towards internal audit process, you provide a governance issue, you look toward the risk management issues, and you look toward the operations, whether the company is performing well or not according to its scope, according to its main vision, aim, and are these operations working greatly with the compliance of laws? You need to understand these things are. I hope till now you are being understanding the things very deeply. And if I look toward the objective of internal audit, it also states that internal audit improves my operation. Internal audit add values as well. You need to look toward this as well. Some further, my both auditors are independent, whether it's internal audit or whether it's external audit. Previously stated that internal audit is being hired by management, while external audit is being approved by board, by the different members, by different stakeholders or shareholders to form an independent report. You know that external audit shall be performed at the year end, or you can look toward the interim report as. While you look toward internal audit, an organization must perform or it shall be performing internal audit continuously in a year. So you can need to understand this as well. And if I go later on or at an ending stage, internal audit standards are being reduced in January 2025, while external audits are being already been locally available. That you say ISA, I previously told International Standards on Auditing, issued by IAASB board, and some US local audit standards board. All right. This was a major difference. You can say that if you perform an external audit previously and now you hire an internal auditor, this would be very beneficial and improvement toward your organization operations, the organization compliance process, the organization risk identifying process, because you would be having the previous reports as well for your working, for your field work as well, for your audit understanding. Till now, you have any issues? Can ask me. I know that my pace will be fast, but as a webinar, I need to look towards some things and many things. If you have any issues, you can ask me. Chat box is open, and I'll just look forward. How internal audit supports external audit? We already know that previously, but if I look towards my audit standards, audit. So I have mentioned you an audit standard as well. That a standard 11.1, it says coordination with external audit. So you need to understand that domain 4 and its audit standard 11.1. It helps me to coordinate with external audit. Very first point, if I rely as an external auditor, I should be rely on internal audit work. All right, I should be looking towards internal audit working. That would be helping my time reduction in time as well. All right, so it helps me reducing duplicate testing as well. By if I think that my external internal auditor has already performed and risk management task, It has identified some highly risky areas that would be very helpful for me to look towards it and then performing an audit. Not going toward a risky area first and then identifying those same risk areas. That will be taking a time. This will be help me supporting work phase. I will be looking towards my internal audit plans and looking and defining that whether this internal audit plan supports my external audit. That would be very useful as well. So this would be helpful to work on my control department because an organization would already be an audit process, and while hiring an external audit team, that would be very useful toward a further assessment. You can see further risk and planning assessment phase for my external audit. My internal audit work papers, my internal audit documents would be helpful, would be supportive towards my other control, my assurance way, my finding, my evidences. So if my internal audit department has already find many evidences, that would be very useful. That would be very helpful for performing an external audit. And that would be useful. Those evidence would be useful to finding the fraud. ISA 240 states me how to identify fraud, but while internal auditor, I can look toward the preparing fraud risk management folder or a matrix that would be helpful for my external auditors and my working toward providing an opinion on financial statements whenever I issue internal audit report. You need to see the things very deeply, how I connect my linkage from ISA 240 towards my communication with auditors. Alright, so I hope you're gonna look because I'm gonna explain you this again in some another webinar. I am not going much deeply, but I am trying you to understand that external auditor shall be helpful or shall be thankful towards internal auditor if he had been provided previous audit plans, if he had been provided any previous evidences, any previous documentation, every risk management folder for the process for and every audit control environment that will be helpful for him to look towards some further processes. You need to understand this. While performing audit, my organization have looked toward controls. I need to look as an IA. I need to look toward whether financial statements are being prepared accurately or not. I shall be looking toward. And after all of this, this IA shall be reporting toward EA, external auditor, that be very useful to provide an independent assurance report on financial statements. If you see, you learn ISA 610, reliance on other, work, reliance on other area, communication towards other. That is being similar toward your auditing standard 11.1, communicating with external audit. I hope you're gonna look towards furtherly and understanding this, how it furtherly works on your preparations. Just wait for a second. I'm gonna load my presentation again, and I hope you are learning very well and effectively with me. If you have any questions, I am available. Now just look forward and just see that what further it coordinates with my external audit process. As you see, you have a standard 9.4. It states how you prepare a relationship with external audit. The CAE must coordinate with external audit. Now you see your internal audit team or chief audit executive shall be helpful to whom? To external auditors. And this shall be shared risk assessment process, the plans, the reports, its further working evidences. This evidences shall be support duplication, avoid duplication, and some other overall audit coverage that your external audit shall be performed quickly. This is being explained in an audit standard 9.4. Similarly, now I have been learned and understand 11.1 that CAE Chief Audit Executive must report its activities and finding results to Audit Committee, and this Audit Committee shall be referring towards EA means External Audit Committee as well. If my EA and IA have been met in a board committee earlier, that would be very useful to looking towards a better quality of external assessment. You can say better quality of standard management and quality assurance improvement program as well. If my quality assurance is being completed, if my previous reports are being completed by internal auditors, that would be very helpful and timely approach towards my EA alliances. I have been told you earlier that for external auditor must rely on internal audit work. This has been explained in ISA 610. Auditor must demonstrate that quality work, it should be competent, it shall be objective, it shall be reporting a systematic way of communication of evidences and reports to the management and external auditors. Internal audit standards help me to perform external audit very well. Now you see, looking 610 and our external audit reliance on internal audit previously, our previous auditing standards. Now it is very easy to understand 610. Like some main requirement and some main objectives of 610 that external auditor must evaluate internal audit objectivity. Yes, and that internal auditor shall be hired on independent objectivity. Next, internal auditor shall be performing a competently work and shall be looking toward the professional care. And this is also the main objective of EA. EA shall assess that whether IA is being performed very well or not. Why? Because if we communicate at early stage and if EA and IA means external auditor and internal auditor has a face-to-face meeting earlier with the board committee, that would be helpful in looking toward the faster audit cycles. It will be looking towards some reducing audit fees as major of its tasks would already be performed by whom? By IA. All right. Some further things. It shall be looking toward the better risky areas being coordinated earlier, being planned by IA, and IA shall be looking the gaps to be eliminated by EA. If evidences are being available, this would be very easy to complete my audit cycle very first, and it would be very easy to make some internal controls more stronger than previously. If an EA look toward a IA report, then it shall be thankful that it shall be looking towards some auditing standards as well, and these standards shall be approached and being applied in a systematic way. So now you see how IA helps in preparing an internal audit report, and that internal audit report evidences risk matrix folder, fraud risk management folder, fraud assessment, planning engagement assessment, sufficiency of resources, your supporting documents, your evidences collection helps in performing external audit cycle very quickly, and it helps in reduction in fees as well. Now I hope you have been broadened ISA 610 scope for your learning. Now just see our practical mechanism. Very first, if IA is being performing well, then IA shall be looking some financial reporting risk reports as well. I told you earlier, and these risk reports shall be timely communicated towards external auditors. My internal audit shall be looking towards my quality assessment results, and my IA function shall be improving time by time, being reported toward EA for some further improvement. If my IA has been performing well and been looking some work papers, those work papers shall be communicated toward external audit team whenever they manage, whenever they have a joint board meeting. All right. You need to see whenever there is being a joint board meeting with internal and external audit. Internal audit team must provide some things which are management letters, some findings, some working papers, and some access to IA report as well. So this shall be already been performed and being managed towards my team, my joint membership to. If I look previously, ISA 610 and its objections, it states that ISA 610, the management shall be outreaching IA staff to perform audit procedures under EA direction. So this must be reducing the cost. And very well, and the last thing that this EA report and IA report shall be oversight, shall be communicated towards the management, shall be prepared as per 9.4 11.1 standard and ISA 700 series. So how you now you know a greater bridge and greater mindset in your mind that how IA can be collaborative with EA in the mind. Here are some key taking and key finding that you have been learned in this webinar. Very first, you see that your internal audit is a strategic plan. It's a value addition function. It's not just a fee taking function. And the next thing that if you look further, that your global internal audit standards provide a comprehensive learning domain across all of its financial frameworks, and auditing frameworks. Which auditing framework? Your internal audit framework. You need to see and you need to understand this. Next, how your chief audit executive helps you to furtherly learn your internal audit report, your internal audit finding, and how that internal audit finding shall be communicated toward external auditor. This is being explained in Audit Standard 9.1 and 9.4 and 11.1, which this has been mentioned. I have been told you earlier. Now you can see your further finding your global standard 9.4, your relation with external auditors 11.1, how you report your communication, how you report your result, your reports, your findings, your working papers toward the senior management and the board. This have been explained to you. So I hope all of these things have been linked towards your practical learning, and these were the key findings. If you have any question, you can ask me. The fourth point is very interesting and importantly that the external auditor can rely on internal audit, and this has been explained in ISA 610, which reduces the cost, which reduces the audit cycle work, audit page, the duplication, how it has been related. You can see that you have been related, you have been understanding this earlier, and how and high quality IA function helps you to prepare a high quality external audit report. So this was a confidence given by the management, by internal audit team toward the external audit. If you have any question, you can ask me. Now I'm gonna launch a case study, uh, which we're gonna understand for our concepts today, and then I'm gonna end up my webinar. If you have any issues, any questions, you can ask me. I'm just gonna share another screen. Till now, wait and do comment well. So here I have my case study. It's being Al Mansoori Manufacturing Company, a hypothetical organization, but it would be very helpful for learning my internal audit program and its coordination with external auditor. Now you see, you have learned previously GIAS 2025 audit standards, my ISA 610, and then I would be learning towards my some further planning phases, risk assessment 315, my communication, and some supportive evidences linking towards my quality standard as. All of this has been linked, and now if I see furtherly, you can see my company profile. If I see further, what is the industry where my organization works on? It's a steel and fabricated metal products. It has been established early in the year 2005, headquartered in Dubai, UAE. It has been hired and 1,800 employees and some four manufacturing plants as well. My yearly revenue is 620 million Arab Emirates dirham. My company is being listed on DFM as well. So what our audit team, my IA in-house being team, it has CAE, Chief Audit Executive as well, and six staff auditors, you mean junior auditors as well. So what is the external audit team? So yes, here I have been mentioned that a big four firm, you can say the KPMG, UAE is being looking toward an external audit. You have a risk and control context as well. So as you see, you have a full manufacturing plant and 1800 employees. The very first risk comes into your mind that you have a team, large team, you have been supplying over all different works, or you can say the continents. You have been revenue recognition because you have some long-term contracts as well. You would be having some contract liability as well. You will be preparing journal entries as well, and that would have been a fraud because your organization, you can see that they have been preparing a manual journal entry. Next, you have in system migration that you have been implementing a SAP. That is a very good thing. But before moving towards SAP, you are moving towards your manual generality, and that elevated your fraud work as well. That have been explained in ISA 240. Then you have some sister companies. So the very basic and very important understanding thing that related party transactions are being allocated. What is the regulatory compliance? You have a UAE Compliance Companies Act. So here, internal audit governance framework you have been developed that very first you need to mention IA charter that should be mandate. All right. Under that, you need to look towards your organization independence board as well. So, independent board, your independent board shall have a board of director as well. Independent board shall have an audit committee, chief audit executive, and under that chief audit executive, you shall have internal auditors as well, senior. Then you have junior internal audit. Then you have IT audit. Why audit specialist? Because you are moving toward the SAP processes as well. All right, and all of this IA report and EA report shall be communicated toward the UAE board, or you can say an organization board. All right, so this was a governance framework that explained the key board, key backability of an organization. What are the partners of internal audit team? Here you have been explaining this very well. Now you see annual risk based plan. The company has already been prepared an annual risk plan. You see, it has been linked with ISA 315 and Internal Audit Standard 9.1 and 9.2. If I see further, you prepared a risk-based methodology approved by audit committee. Who are the members of audit committee? You see previously that you have an IA function directive. You would be having CAE, senior auditors, internal auditors. All of these are the part of audit committee as well. Now you see the management has identified some highly risky areas under 315 and 9.1 and 9.2 as well. So very first is revenue recognition, your procurement payable cycle as well, because why procurement payable? Because it's a manufacturing company. You will be picking goods on a payable terms. You need to look toward the working capital as well. Then some, if I see high risky areas, my IT control, because my management has early told me that they have been shifting towards SAP module. Then they have told that they have two sister companies. Those are being related towards my related party transactions. My financial reporting would also be majorly working. Major risky area. Alright, you need to understand this very deeply that they have been identified these high risk areas. Now you see payroll and HR controls. It's being mediumly controlled by my management. These have been identified under 315, 315, 315, and then supportive documents because related party transactions have been mentioned in ISA 550. Now you see, my external audit and my internal audit standards are being related towards, and my management with CAE, senior internal audit members, and some junior internal auditors are being linked with my quarter one and quarter two report. They're working effectively and they prepared this annual risk based plan. Now you see how an annual risk based plan works. This matters will be very helpful. And at the last column, my management has been explaining my supporting documents. You can say 210 engagement letter helps me preparing my supporting documents. You can see I can look toward my engagement plan, my risk registers, my vendor list, see my payment list, my HR policies. All of these are being linked and very highly importantly looking that whenever an organization shifting towards some general control toward IT controls as being a SAP, then it shall be looking towards access control log as well, some IT matrix as well, and these matrices shall be looking towards my SAP implementation process. Then my related party registers, my board meeting, and some draft FS would be very useful. Now you see, your annual risk-based plan is very important. It's being highly important document for your audit process, and this highly important and highly risky risk-based audit plan for the financial year 2024 must be submitted toward audit committee and they shall approve this. So external audit team shall be keep finding on these risky areas under each quarterly board terms. I hope this annual risk-based audit plan is very useful and would be helpful. If I see my quarter one engagement or quarter one report, now you see I have developed a separate planning for you, separate phase for you, such as in a planning phase, you see an engagement letter is being issued to CFO. You will looking towards my revenue steps. Are these 5 steps being completed under IFRS 15 model? Now, in your financial statements, you will be looking towards your contract assets, your contract liabilities of 280 million Arab dirhams. So these would be all the plans of my management, and it will be coming out. It will be picking. It will be engagement planning phase toward my management and toward my audit committee under IA plan. My IA means internal audit team would be planning and would be looking toward this. So main objective of recognition of a revenue is what? The main objective of recognition of a revenue is to implement 5 steps. Yes, if 5 steps are being implemented, record a revenue. Otherwise, you step down and record a contract asset or a contract liability, whatever the scenario is available. Now you see, you have 3 weeks, you have two auditors, you need to perform a planning phase. All right. And this has been linked toward internal audit standard as well. So you have 11.1 engagement planning. There you explain the further things. I have some field work as well. So the field work, my team, IA team, will be looking towards some contract terms. You can say the contract agreements between the both parties. It will be looking that whether the management has been completing its process, whether the revenue recognition is being completed by taking samples. For example, I have taken 15 samples. Then verify my journal entries because the management is preparing manual. You can see earlier. You are preparing the manual journal entries. If you see here, highly risky areas, point number 3, where my mouse is being pointing, you are looking toward the manual journal entries. All right. And after the manual journal entries, you need to verify those. So for the field work, You need to look, you need to go toward the finance team as well as your marketing and sales team. How sales have been recorded? That will be mentioned by sales and the reporting team and the finance team. How the sales have been shared, go toward the marketing team. This has been explained in 11.3 standard communication of result. So now you see, I am explaining you my below audit standards, my IA standard, my EA standard as well side by side. Now you see ISA 315 risk of material misstatement has been standard and that has been related toward my IFRS 15 revenue from contract by customers because my revenue is a highly risky area. So after my planning and engagement, after my all field work, I approach toward my end result that my finding. What are my key finding? Then my key finding are three contracts. So you see a very large amount. My three contract of revenues can see that my three contract of revenue making 4.2 million dirham sales are being overstated. They have been recognized early. So who's an error? It's an error of finance team and sales and reporting team. It's being funded by IA, and this IA finding would be very helpful for EA because it has already been a supported documents. It has been looking towards some control, some verifiable documents, and some register. So their way of looking toward the risk management of revenue was correct because the company has recorded revenue early, and that's a bad thing. Now, after my finding, I need to report my finding. I need to prepare the draft report to CF. I need to prepare my report that shall be issued to audit committee. And the audit committee shall be preparing another report which shall be communicated toward my external auditor, which I can see the KPMG. All right, and my all finding my all working papers, including my finding, including my field works interviews, including my resources, including my long-term plannings, my engagement letters, shall be completed in a single folder and being communicated, being available to EA. All right. So this was a 9.3 internal audit standard communication of coordination with external audit. Now you see how internal audit phase works from planning to field work to finding and to reporting to EA means external auditing. Similar way in a quarter two, I found out some things. Now you see, I am looking towards my audit evidences, all right, and these evidences, these findings, find out help me looking fraud. The very first looking into my procurement that there are 40 vendor transactions, means 85 million dirham have been spent. Some four vendors are being approved without contract, totaling 12 million. Now you see if I earn 12 million divided by 85 multiplied by 100, you can see that how much specific percentage my these four contracts are being looking. Alright, you should be looking these very deeply. You should be looking these finding very deeply and these shall be helpful for you to find your resources. Now you see these four contracts are being approved of 12 million dirhams, approaching toward the totaling 85 million spent towards my vendors. And these fours are being approved without my contact, without anything. All right, so there are 9 invoices as well. All right, so there are some orders. I need to see that. These are my working papers. These are my papers. These are my findings by internal audit team. And similarly, I'm gonna look towards my payroll as well. Why payroll? Because sometimes there are ghost employees. Now you see, we have finded my IA team has finded 8 ghost employees, and those 8 ghost employees are being affected towards my IT teams. They have been paying 92 million, 1,800 employees. I told you earlier. So all right. So there are some overtime approved of 23 staffs as well. All right. No annual recognition reconciling. All right, of my employees. Now you see there are some risky areas, side by side discussion. Third one, and very important, as you are moving, as you are shifting towards an IT software, SAP, you are moving towards SAP for the without anything, without the things you need to see some further control that you have been finded 22 user control. All right. You look toward the change scope, you see that which documents have been issued, and these documents will be very important for your decisions, your related party transactions. All right. So now if I'm furtherly move towards some related party transactions and explain you how these transactions, as I told you earlier, that they have been finding that two sister companies are being related towards Al Mansuri. Al Mansuri Trading LLC and AM Steel. So these are, and there are 14 transactions, a greater number of transactions totaling 38 million dirham. Now you see why it was a highly risky area. You have been looking, there been an item of fraud and related party transactions, and these have been explained in 11.1 how the management is being making a fraud towards the organization, how the management is being looking towards some management party. These are highly risky areas. Migration from manual towards IT. You saw 22 users available, 6 unapproved changes toward the production cycle means you can change amounts in a production. You have 4 plant servers, as I told you, and that would be very risky. That 4 plants wouldn't be controlled in a single SAP migration way. And at the last, you have a quarter 4 engagement, your financial closing. You saw that you have a manual journal entries, and there are some 18 entries which have been posted at a year end. There are no supporting documents. You further see that IFRS 15, IS 24 disclosures are incomplete. How a highly risky area that a management have been relating towards some related party transactions and that has not been disclosed in financial statements. Your IFRS 15 is not being completely disclosed, means your contract asset and contract liability are not being disclosed, being managed in the financial statements. Now you see how financial statements are important for your decision making, how your journal entries are important for your audit discussions. And these are all the findings of internal audit team. This internal audit team would be explaining these findings towards the external audit. It would be reducing external audit time. It would be reducing external audit cycle time. It will be reducing the fees because internal audit has already finded this. Internal audit have been looking toward a stronger controls and these are being shared toward the KPMG. Now you see, furtherly steps increases. Your balance sheet reconciled. It has not been reconciled. Why? Because there is a difference of 6.8 million dirhams. Intercompany transactions, same. Your related party transactions, you will be hiring a team from similar way system company and the sister company wouldn't be performing well. Next, your going concern assumption. You, oh, that's an alarming situation. That going concern is not being discussed in financial statement. No note has been issued. That's why it's being a low risky area, but it should be assessed by management. It should be looked over the audit committee. I hope you have been looking toward many findings and many risky areas over in the case study being explained to you in some due time, and I hope that this learning will be very effective for you. Here and then you have some supportive and you know that your audit document plans, your finding, your quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four findings, and all the related direction towards your audit report and towards your audit committee would be very helpful in providing your external audit. You just see it's your working paper transfers, your IT audit transfer, your QAIP evidences provided through the KPMG, and your some further finding about the revenue overstatement, your related party transaction, your joint member meetings in October being held, your control deficiency or being communicated towards the external audit team, and this would be helpful for them to perform an audit quickly and being alliances on some internal audit process. If you have any issues, you can ask me. Here is a list of supporting documents that internal audit team shall prepare and shall communicate you in some due time for the relative working. If you have any issues, you can ask me. I hope my webinar was not too long for you. All of these resources would be available and would be shared to you in a due time. Thank you very much for watching it and do share with others as well. If you have any issues, I am available and just learn more with Daniel. Thank you very much.